Welcome to a journey into the infinite. In mathematics, our intuition often fails us when we try to add up an endless list of numbers. Today, we are going to look at 10 of the most famous series in history and ask the ultimate question: is the result a finite number, or does it explode into infinity? This isn't just a guessing game. We will dive deep into the step-by-step logical proofs that reveal the truth behind these sums. Let us begin with the foundation of all series analysis, the geometric series. This series is written as the sum of the term a times r to the power of k. Take a moment to look at this pattern. Do you think this series converges to a finite sum, or does it diverge to infinity? To understand if this is finite, we must first define the partial sum, which we will call S sub n. S sub n is equal to a plus a times r plus a times r squared, all the way up to a times r to the power of n. Now, here is the trick. We multiply the entire equation by r. This gives us r times S sub n equals a times r plus a times r squared, ending with a times r to the power of n plus 1. When we subtract the second equation from the first, something magical happens. Almost every term in the middle cancels out. We are left with S sub n minus r times S sub n equals a minus a times r to the power of n plus 1. We factor out the partial sum on the left to get S sub n times in parentheses 1 minus r equals a times in parentheses 1 minus r to the power of n plus 1. To find the sum, we divide by in parentheses 1 minus r. Now, we apply the limit as n goes to infinity. If the absolute value of r is less than 1, then r to the power of n plus 1 vanishes and becomes 0. This leaves us with a clean, finite result, a divided by in parentheses 1 minus r. This series is the backbone of financial mathematics, used to calculate everything from loan interest to the multiplier effect in economics. Next, we face the harmonic series, the sum of 1 divided by n for all n from 1 to infinity. It looks like 1 plus 1/2 plus 1/3 plus 1/4. What is your guess for this one? Does this sum settle at a finite value, or is it divergent? Let's apply the integral test to be sure. We compare the term a sub n equals 1 divided by n to the function f of x equals 1 divided by x. First, we verify that the function is continuous, positive, and decreasing for all x greater than or equal to 1. Now, we evaluate the improper integral from 1 to infinity of 1 divided by x with respect to x. The antiderivative of 1 divided by x is the natural log of x. When we evaluate this limit from 1 to t as t goes to infinity, we get the natural log of t minus the natural log of 1. Since the natural log of t grows without bound as t increases, the integral is infinite. Therefore, by the rules of the integral test, the series must also be divergent. It is a slow climb, but it never stops. If you are finding these derivations helpful for your studies, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Now, let's look at a problem that stumped mathematicians for 90 years, the Basel Problem. This is the sum of 1 divided by n squared. Knowing what you just learned about the harmonic series, do you believe adding the squares will lead to a finite convergence or a divergent result? We know it is finite because of the p-series test. Since the exponent 2 is greater than 1, the series must converge. But what is the value? Leonhard Euler solved this by using the Taylor series for the sign of x. The sign of x is x minus x cubed divided by 3 factorial plus x to the power of 5 divided by 5 factorial and so on. If we divide this by x, we get 1 minus x squared divided by 3 factorial plus x to the power of 4 divided by 5 factorial. Now, Euler identified the roots of this function, which are at multiples of pi. He then wrote the function as an infinite product. By comparing the coefficients of the x squared term from the Taylor series and the infinite product, he found that -1 divided by 3 factorial must equal the sum of -1 divided by in parentheses n squared times pi squared. Simplifying this led to the legendary result that the sum is exactly pi squared divided by 6. What happens if we take that divergent harmonic series but make every other term negative? This gives us the alternating harmonic series, 1 minus 1/2 plus 1/3 minus 1/4. Does the introduction of subtraction allow this series to converge, or does it still diverge? To see if this is finite, we use the Leibniz Criterion. There are 2 steps. First, we check if the absolute value of each term is smaller than or equal to the previous one. We see that 1 divided by in parentheses n plus 1 is indeed less than 1 divided by n. Second, we check if the limit of the terms as n goes to infinity is 0. The limit of 1 divided by n is indeed 0. Because it passes both tests, the series is convergent. To find its value, we look at the Taylor expansion of the natural log of in parentheses 1 plus x, which is x minus x squared divided by 2 plus x cubed divided by 3 and so on. By setting x equal to 1, we find the sum is exactly the natural log of 2. Moving to the exponential series, which is the sum of x to the power of n divided by n factorial. Think about how fast a factorial grows in the denominator. Is this series finite for all values of x, or does it diverge? To test for convergence, we use the ratio test. We define L as the limit as n goes to infinity of the absolute value of the a sub n plus 1 term divided by the a sub n term. This looks like the absolute value of x to the power of n plus 1 divided by in parentheses n plus 1 factorial, multiplied by the reciprocal, which is n factorial divided by x to the power of n. We can simplify the factorials because in parentheses n plus 1 factorial is just in parentheses n plus 1 times n factorial. After we cancel the terms, we are left with the limit of the absolute value of x divided by in parentheses n plus 1. As n grows to infinity, this fraction always goes to 0, regardless of how large x is. Since 0 is always less than 1, the ratio test tells us the series converges for every real number x. If we now set x equals 1, we end up with a finite series of 1 plus 1 plus 1/2 plus 1 over 6, and so on, which equals the Euler number E. Now let's look at a series for pi itself, attributed to Leibniz. It is the sum of -1 to the power of n divided by in parentheses 2 times n plus 1. This results in 1 minus 1/3 plus 1/5 minus 1/7. What is your prediction? Finite or infinite? To derive this, we start with the power series of 1 divided by in parentheses 1 plus t squared, which is 1 minus t squared plus t to the power of 4 and so on. We integrate both sides from 0 to x. The integral of the left side is the inverse tangent of x. The integral of the right side is x minus x cubed divided by 3 plus x to the power of 5 divided by 5. By substituting x equal to 1, we get the inverse tangent of 1, which we know is pi divided by 4. This results in the series 1 minus 1/3 plus 1/5 minus 1/7. It is a beautiful proof of the connection between alternating odd numbers and the geometry of a circle. Then we have Grandi's series, which is defined by the sum of n equals 1 to infinity of in parentheses -1 to the power of n. This one is tricky. Do you think the sum is 0, 1/2, or does the series diverge? Let's look at the sequence of partial sums. S0 is 1. S1 is 1 minus 1, which is 0. S2 is 1 minus 1 plus 1, which is 1. The sequence of partial sums simply jumps between 1 and 0 forever. According to the definition of convergence, a series only converges if the limit of its partial sums exists as a single finite number. Since this limit does not exist due to the constant oscillation, the series is divergent. Let's talk about the primes. The sum of 1 divided by p for all prime numbers, p starting with 1/2 plus 1/3 plus 1/5. Primes are rare. Does their rarity guarantee convergence, or do they still diverge? We look at the natural log of the Riemann zeta function. Using the Euler product formula and a Taylor expansion for the log function, we find that for s close to 1, the log of the zeta function is approximately the sum of 1 divided by p to the power of s. As s approaches 1, the zeta function approaches infinity, which means its logarithm also goes to infinity. Therefore, the sum of prime reciprocals must be divergent. Please take a moment to like the video and subscribe if you want to see more step-by-step proofs like these. It takes only a second and supports free education. The most counterintuitive of all is the Kempner series. We take the divergent harmonic series but remove every term where the denominator contains the digit 9. Now that we have removed so many numbers, do you think the sum is finally finite, or does it remain infinite? To prove this is finite, we group the terms by the number of digits. For numbers with k digits, there are exactly 8 times 9 to the power of k minus 1 possible values that do not contain a 9. The smallest denominator for any k-digit number is 10 to the power of k minus 1. Therefore, the sum for all k-digit terms is less than 8 times 9 to the power of k minus 1 divided by 10 to the power of k minus 1. This is a geometric series with a ratio of 9 divided by 10. Since 9 divided by 10 is less than 1, this bounding series converges. Finally, we have Apéry's constant, the sum of 1 divided by n cubed. This is our final challenge. Do you believe this series converges or diverges? We apply the p-series test where p is equal to 3. The rule states that any series of 1 divided by n to the power of p converges if p is strictly greater than 1. Since 3 is greater than 1, we know for a fact it is finite. The exact value is roughly 1.202. In 1978, Roger Apéry shocked the math community by proving this constant is irrational. Infinity is not just a concept, it is a landscape filled with these patterns. Some paths lead to a dead end, while others go on forever. Understanding which is the key to mastering the language of the universe. Thank you for walking through these proofs with me today.